Afternoon, colleagues, family, friends joining us from home. We're just waiting for a couple of more people to join us and then we'll start. Thank you. Everyone? Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues, family, friends. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the 2021 Memorial Ceremony and Tree Planting event of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences of Stellenbosch University. Goeiemiddag, dames en heren, familievrienden. The faculty's Memorial Ceremony and Tree Planting is an opportunity to pay tribute to and to reflect on and acknowledge the contributions of our staff and students who passed away in the past year. So thank you all for joining us today in this special annual ceremony, which is also live streamed this year to accommodate those of us still working from home, colleagues still working from home, and family and friends who can't join us this afternoon. Thank you also to the organizers of the ceremony and specifically to the Marketing and Communications Office, specifically Ms. Megan Salon and Ms. Runel Bester. And we hope that you will find this ceremony also one that, gives us an opportunity to really acknowledge and reflect on our contributions of our family and friends. I would like now to invite the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Jimmy Volming, to please come forward and formally open the proceedings.
Good afternoon, goeiemiddag, Moweni. It's really good to see you all, and on behalf of the faculty, would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, both those of you who are here in person and those that are online. As Nico has said, we have an annual tree planting and memorial service every year where we commemorate those that have passed. And it's normally quite a small affair. It's usually outside. It's plant a few trees. It's a fairly low-key kind of event. But this past year has been a year like none other. I remember in December 2019, just the last day before I went on leave, so around about just before Christmas, I walked out, and as I walked out, a young man working in one of the laboratories walked out with me, and we kind of had a short discussion, a bit of banter, a bit of joking. It was also his last day, and before going on leave, and then 2 weeks later, I got an SMS to say that he had passed from COVID. It was such a shock, and that was really just the beginning of that wave. As you know, last year we saw a steep increase in the number of infections and deaths. Today, I think the number of infections stand at 1.6 million with 56,000 deaths. So a very significant and completely unforgettable experience. We also know that it was not just COVID, specifically, that was the cause of death. There were also many other deaths. Some of them are related to COVID because of people not being able to access healthcare, and not be able to get the treatment, the life-saving treatment they needed. Some deaths probably also related to just the stress of the period. COVID has caused people to lose their livelihoods. People are filled with anxiety, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of stress that people have experienced. So I think as long as we live, we will never forget this period. And so today, we want to take time to really think about the staff, our colleagues, and the students that have passed on in the last year. We have a very short program. There are quite a number of people that will participate in making tributes to those loved ones and colleagues that we've lost. So I don't want to take up any more time, just to say you are very welcome, and we're so pleased that you were able to join us today. I'm going to hand back now to Professor Geefan Pitius, who will explain the procedure further. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vorming. We are going to invite tributes from family, friends, colleagues to the staff and students who passed away. And I'd like to now invite these tributes from the individuals who've indicated that they would do that, and start by inviting Professor Sikumbiso Mbinyani, the head of Division of Human Nutrition, to please deliver a tribute to Mrs. Celeste Rosat. Professor Mbinyani.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon, and molweni to the family. I would like to pay a tribute to Celeste Rosant, who left us at the beginning of this year. Even though it has been that long, the loss is there, tangible, and real within everyone in the Division of Human Nutrition. Celeste exemplified life, love, laughter, and an irrepressible belief and faith in seeing the best in everything. And so today, we honor her by profoundly feeling and expressing our loss, but also remembering Celeste as an amazing person who has played a unique and special role in all our lives, inclusive of staff and students. She was with us for a very short time, less than 2 years, but left an indelible mark and memories in the division. We remember Celeste as a colleague, always with a smile and willing to learn. I asked some of the colleagues who remember her for caring, quiet, but could make you laugh out of the blue with her silent jokes. The last moments we spent with her, we actually forced an end-of-year function in some outside area, so that's why she made us laugh for the last time. In closing, I want to say that life is a stopping place, a pause in what's to be, and a resting place along the road. We'll all have our different journeys, different paths along the way. We were meant to learn some things from Celeste, whose journey was very quick. And when her journey finally ended, Celeste found everlasting peace. I thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mbinyani. Professor Ian Cooper, the Director of Ukwanda Center for Rural Health, will deliver a tribute to Mrs. Samantha Stander. Professor Cooper.
Thank you and good afternoon. Dr. Samantha Stander, or Sammy as we got to know her, spent her final year of the MBCHB program in Ukwanda's Rural Clinical School, completing her student internship at Worcester Hospital. Sammy loved, laughed, and lived life to the full in spite of many obstacles and challenges that would have discouraged most people from doing very much at all. Her life journey is an example of courage and compassion. She was born with congenital hip dysplasia and was told that she would never walk. Her parents were told she would never walk, but that did not deter her from participating in obstacle course racing, never mind walking, running, and mountain biking. She lived her Christian faith, being kind to all, being grateful for assistance, and being an advocate for fairness. Samantha approached her studies and life with a tenacious determination, and she lived by the principle that nothing is impossible for those who believe, coupled with hard work and dedication. Although she suffered a number of setbacks with her health and academics, she persisted and never ever gave up. At the same time, she sought to do good regardless of what happens and was an inspiration to many. Her passing in December 2020, just a couple of weeks after she finished, left us with much to think about and fond memories of how she touched our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cooper. Emeritus Professor Ben van Heerden, the former director of the MBCHB unit, will deliver a tribute to Professor Jan Lochner. Professor van Heerden can't be here today, but he sent a message.
Prof Jan Lochner sy eggenote en Prof Christine Lochner, sy dogter, kollegas en studente. Dit is vir my 'n eer en 'n voorreg om hierdie kort huldeblyk vir Prof Jan Lochner te kan lewer. Ek vra om verskoning dat ek nie persoonlik daar kan wees nie, maar ek het 'n redelike ernstige enkelbesering opgedoen en sukkel maar 'n bietjie om te loop. Prof Jan het hom eers as mediese natuurwetenskaplike bekwaam alvorens hy tot die medisyne toegetree het. Hy behaal die BSc Medies, MSc Fisiologie en DSc Fisiologie grade binne 7 jaar aan Stellenbosch Universiteit. Tussen die MSc en DSc grade dien hy as navorsingsgenoot in endokrinologiese fisiologie aan die Universiteit van Texas. In 1967 behaal hy die MBCHB graad en bekwam homself daarna as internis. Hy werk dan ook as internis met 'n spesiale belangstelling in endokrinologie in die departement interne geneeskunde tot 1972. Vanaf 1972 tot 1978 dien hy as visiepresident en hoofuitvoerende beampte van die Suid-Afrikaanse Mediese Navorsingsraad. Hierna word hy as professor aangestel in die departement van geneeskundige fisiologie en biochemie en as hoof van daai departement vanaf 1984 tot 1995. Intussen werk hy steeds as deeltydse internis en endokrinoloog vanaf 1972 tot en met sy aftrede. In 1995 word hy aangestel as dekaan van die fakulteit tot 2000. Tussen 2000 en sy aftrede in 2002 tree hy op as bestuurder van die afdeling navorsingsontwikkeling en steun. Dit is duidelik dat Prof Lochner homself uitstekend geposisioneer het as beide mediese wetenskaplike en medikus, as ook navorser en leier van formaat. Hy was outeur van meer as 50 publikasies en spreker by menige wetenskaplike kongresse. Hy was ook 'n volle lid van die Suid-Afrikaanse Akademie vir Wetenskap en Kuns. Daar is nog vele meer wat ek oor sy prestasies kan sê, maar tyd gaan dit nie toelaat nie. Ek wil dus nou klem lê op Prof Jan se liefde vir Afrikaans. Prof Lochner het nooit werklik afgetree nie. Vanaf 2002 tot 2020 werk hy voltyds aan die hersiening van die Woordeboek vir Gesondheidswetenskappe. En 'n tweede uitgawe van die Woordeboek verskyn dan ook in 2010. Tot en met sy dood het hy steeds voortgegaan met die opdatering van die Woordeboek. Vir hierdie bydraes word hy vereer met 'n veertjie van die ATKV, sowel as die D.F. Malan medalje van die Suid-Afrikaanse Akademie vir Wetenskap en Kuns. Dit bring my nou by Prof Jan as mens. Ek ken hom sedert my studentedae en het hom ervaar as 'n persoon met 'n sterk persoonlikheid en integriteit. Maar baie beskeie, sagmoedig, belangstellend in ander se doen en late en vriendelik. Vir my was hy oor baie jare 'n rolmodel en mentor wat geglo het in my potensiaal en my ondersteun het in die roetes wat my eie loopbaan ingeslaan het. Daarvoor sal ek hom ewig dankbaar bly. Julle is almal bekend met die klip voor die fakulteit met die aanhaling: 'n buitel moet kan klip breek as hy buitel is. Prof Jan was so 'n buitel.
Baie dankie, Professor van Heerden. Mr. Angelo Klute from FedEx to deliver a tribute to Mrs. Annelien Buys.
Good evening, all. Good evening, all. This tribute is to our colleague, friend, Annelien Buys, aka Auntie Kleintjie, on behalf of all the medical school employees. It was an honor to write this tribute to Annelien Buys, aka our Auntie Kleintjie, a loving mother of two, namely Jamie Lee and Christian, friend and colleague for the past 11 years. In whatever role we knew Auntie Kleintjie, she stood apart as someone special. I personally first met Auntie Kleintjie in 2017 when I joined the FedEx medical team. That day, the smallest of the humblest of cooks that I've ever met within my chefing career stood out in this huge kitchen as a true, hardworking, loving, and inspiring human being that I came across with. Within seconds of eye contact, I knew I was welcome with open arms, a big smile, and a warm heart. It was like cooking at first sight. Auntie Kleintjie's main role was to prepare daily, freshly cooked meals for the students that booked online. Her food was always scrumptious and yummy. I would know that because there's always like something just hanging there on the side for me to know. I just gotta have it because it was always very, very good. Auntie Kleintjie was also a super baker with her desserts. Always came out tops. Her work ethic was professional, fast, fun, and most importantly, very lekker to whatever food she would prepare. During break time, Auntie Kleintjie would often turn her attention to reading a book, to where I found out her love for reading came along. Outside of work life, she also loved the house of the Lord for prayer and wisdom, and that is why every colleague would turn to her for advice, someone just to chat with, or just a smile. Auntie Kleintjie touched each and every one of us in some sense of a different way that felt caring, loved, and companionship. Annelien Buys, also known as Auntie Kleintjie, is a beloved mother, a cherished colleague, and friend that will be truly be missed by many, but never will be forgotten to those that were fortunate enough to have known her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klute. Dr. Els Dobbels from FAMCRU to deliver a tribute to Ms. Georgina Nenza.
Good afternoon, colleagues and co-workers. I would like to say a few words for Georgina Nenza. We called her Gina. Gina was a counselor at FAMCRU unit for 4 years. In our unit, we mainly help children and families that are affected by HIV and or TB. Gina was taken away from her family, friends, and us too soon. With this letter to Gina, I would like to express my deepest appreciation for who she was and how she affected so many lives around her. Dear Gina, thank you for the blessing you have been in our lives. What comes to mind when I think of you are your radiant smile, your positive attitude, your passion for helping others, your patience, your empathy, your listening ear, and your humble nature. You always had time for our mothers, children, teenagers, with whatever issue they came to you with. You made them feel at ease so they could open up to you. You went out of your way to help them. You were actually like a mom to our teenagers. You were very dedicated to your work, and you could see how passionate you were when you were working with our kids. You were always eager to learn. You were not just a counselor at work. You filled the shoes of a social worker, a psychologist, an advisor, and a life coach. Gina, you have a big heart and are a true inspiration to us all. Thank you. We are missing you badly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Toggles. Ms. Sterna Brandt from the Desmond Tutu TB Center will deliver a tribute to Mr. Rian Rowan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rian Rowan was appointed at the Desmond Tutu TB Center as a driver in April 2017. Rian was much more than just a colleague. He was a son, a husband, a father, a brother, and to those who worked with him, a dear friend. Rian was a gentle person with an open mind, and he had a generous way of interacting with his colleagues and with our research participants. Rian showed organizational commitment. He was one of those people that went far beyond his job description. It is almost a year since Rian passed away on the 16th of June last year, but we still miss him. Rian Rowan was a good man. His memory will always be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brandt. Professor Mariana Creer, the Executive Head of Pediatrics and Child Health, will deliver a tribute to Professor Lungile Pepeta.
It is with great sadness that I give tribute to my former PhD student, but a wonderful man, Professor Lungile Pepeta. He was known as a Lion of the West, or alternatively as the gentle giant from Bisana, where he grew up. He completed his MBCHB in the University of Transkei, then went to Wits for pediatric and pediatric cardiology training, and was so committed to his population in the Eastern Cape that he went back in 2009 to open the first pediatric cardiology unit. He did that because previously the children had to travel down to Red Cross in Cape Town for help, and for the first time they could be treated close to home, and it was dedicated to that. He then went on to become the head of department at Dora Nginza Hospital, where he was shocked at the limited resources, and he spoke out in public about it, and he was warned because state employees are not supposed to speak out. And he was threatened with disciplinary action, but he said, "I cannot keep quiet. Let them try and discipline me. I have to do this." And in order to improve the neonatal ICU, he went around all the medical practitioners, especially the private ones, and requested donations to improve the setting and make it a standard of care in neonatal ICU. He also assisted us pediatric oncologists by establishing the first pediatric oncology unit, assisting Dr. Johanni Vermeulen. Everybody fought. Doctors came from far and all over to want to train and work with him. Suddenly, Dora Nginza became the place to be if you wanted to do pediatrics. Because of his medical excellence and his wonderful sense of friendliness, humanness, and acknowledgement of everybody around him, he became executive dean of the newly founded medical school in 2017. He had a broadness of scope in his medical interest, and he wanted to ensure that he follow suit with a very good example of teaching students disease prevention and health promotion. He was very proud of his family. He was a family man, proud of his wife, his son, and his daughter. He was hospitalized, and I want to share this as a tribute to his commitment to his work, in end of June 2020 in ICU with COVID. And while in ICU, he finished his next manuscript for his PhD. And I still said to him, Lungile, please, you're ill. Rather focus on your health. He said, no, I've got to finish it. And he did it. His PhD explored innovative ways of how to close a common pediatric cardiology disorder, patent ductus arteriosus, in the setting of limited resources and limited costs, and in very extreme low birth weight prematures. He was very successful, and this made sure that these children could stay within their families close to home and not travel to Cape Town for further care. He was absolutely dedicated to the children of the Eastern Cape and to the population. He had unwavering commitment to make sure that their health improved with sustainable solution. He had friendships across divides. He was a true believer and a follower of Archbishop Tutu's Rainbow Nation. He really had a heart for the ordinary people. He served with humility. His loss was a tremendous loss for South Africa. Too young, too soon to be gone. I want to end off, he never sought any recognition. And with the Xhosa proverb, one does not become great by claiming greatness. But he was great, and it is a great loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Creer. Dr. Elise Archer from the Centre for Health Professions Education to deliver a tribute to Dr. Alwyn Louw.
Thank you very much. So it's my privilege to say a couple of words on behalf of our dearly missed colleague and friend, Dr. Alwyn Louw. Alwyn was a senior lecturer in the Centre for Health Professions Education and also the residential head of Nkosi Johnson residence at the time when he tragically died in a car accident. To this day, we often speak of him and we miss so many things that he is still part of in our department. Today, we want to be reminded of the type of person Alwyn was. There's so much good things that we can say about him. But really, I think it's students, it's colleagues, and it's any person that was in contact with Alwyn that will know what we mean. He never made anybody feel inadequate, and even students that had to learn from him felt as if they could learn when he was by their sides. And he had such a lot of humor. And many of us who had to work with him on projects were often just pulled back to reality when we had Alwyn in our team. And he was often the one who said, we shouldn't take life too seriously. What I have to mention as well is that Alwyn was really a family man. And his wife and his son, we so often think of them and we want to encourage them and remind them that we are always thinking of Alwyn and carry him in our hearts with them. So today we honor him by expressing our loss, but also remembering the amazing person that he was and that he will always be remembered for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Archer. Ms. Tamsin Adams from Anesthesiology to deliver a tribute to Dr. Reinhard Knudsen.
Good afternoon. My name is Tamsin Adams, and I'm a registrar in the Department of Anesthesia and Critical Care. And today I was asked to say a few words about my colleague and very close friend, Reinhard Knudsen, who was also a registrar in the department. Reinhard was a stellar registrar in our department, academically strong, with a keen interest in research, and someone who had developed a real love affair with anesthesia. He was really made to be an excellent anaesthetist. And he was also a real tour de force in other areas of his life. He was someone who loved fiercely, laughed with abandon, and shared his joyful spirit with anyone who was lucky enough to be in his presence. But that was not the entire picture. Reinhard was indeed flawed, short-tempered and stubborn, and dogged by many personal struggles. And he really became quite adept at hiding his mental health battles and strife from others. He made many personal mistakes along the way, but the greatest really was that he truly believed that his family, friends, and colleagues would be better off without him. And he tragically took his own life on the 28th of October 2020, 3 months shy of our final exams. He was 34 years old. He left an indelible mark on me and many others, and I choose to remember the friend who found a special place in my heart and who was a part of the fabric of my daily life. He really was the joy in the chaos of Reg time. I will remember the tour de force, and he will be the one I will miss at our graduation. But also I will remember that it's often the brightest among us who suffer the most. Reinhard is survived by his husband, Dion, his parents, Barney and Alka, his parents-in-law, Dion and Ellen, his extended family, Barney, Ina, Lindy, Calvin, Mila, Norman, Manette, Etienne and Zavani, and his beautiful dogs, Beulah and Lexi. The following poem by E. Cummings was a part of Reinhard and Dion's wedding ceremony and was also read at his memorial by his sister-in-law, and it will always remind me of him. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my art. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful, you are my world, my true. And it's you, or whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here's the deepest secret nobody knows. Here's the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart, I carry it in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Sister Portia Hendricks from the Desmond Tutu TB Center will deliver a tribute to Mrs. Nolotwe Mbamandlela.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to pay tribute to Nolotwe Veronica Mbamandlela, who was a member of the LinkedIn study for the Desmond Tutu TB Center. Nolotwe was born on the 26th of February, 1978. She was a single mom, but very proud of her 2 boys, aged 11 and 12, and very dedicated to her family life. Nolotwe commenced at the Desmond Tutu TB Center as an administrative officer for the LinkedIn study, and that was on the 26th of March 2019. She was seconded to the Khayelitsha District Hospital, where she played a very valuable role in identifying the newly diagnosed TB patients and linkage to care. Nolotwe was employed prior to this in the Kid Crew department, also in an administrative position, and that was June 2015 to February 2016. So as a member of the LinkedIn team, she was very enthusiastic, diligent, very committed to her work. Nolotwe always had a smile on her face. She was very polite. She was a very courteous and friendly person, loved by everyone, especially at the Khayelitsha District Hospital. Whenever you asked Nolotwe, "How are you doing?" she would look at you and she'd say, "I'm good. And how are you?" You know, with that care and that passion that she loved people. And no matter how bad you actually felt, you felt compelled to say, "I'm doing good too." She would never allow her illness to affect her work or anything for that matter. I know she struggled very hard as a single parent, but it never got her down. Noludwe was a great advocate for the multi-drug resistant TB treatment and was the first participant enrolled in the bedaquiline study in 2017. She was well respected by the doctors and the nurses of MSF, and she loved attending conferences and telling her story of her survival. Noludwe became ill in April with COVID, and she recovered, but her lungs really took a bad knock, and her cancer flared up after that, and she just never recovered from that. Noludwe was very excited at the time at the prospect of encouraging patients, TB patients in the wards to visit their facilities on discharge, but sadly the illness never allowed her to take up this task. Her passing has left a void in the lives of us as her colleagues, the lives of her two young boys who at that time were 11 and 12 years old, her sister and a brother. We pray that she is resting in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Hendricks. Dr. Emmanuel Ubasa, previously from Medical Virology and currently at the Center for Medical Ethics and Law, will deliver a tribute to Dr. Graham Jacobs.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Bassa, and I shall be giving a tribute to my late supervisor, Dr. Graham Jacobs. I met Graham in 2015 when I joined the Division of Medical Virology to study for my master's, and at that time, when I made the decision to move to Cape Town from Limpopo, I had no bursary to do my postgrad studies. But Graham encouraged me, and he said to me that I shouldn't give up on my studies, that money shouldn't be a factor. So I came down to Cape Town without bursary, and I just took a leap of faith. And I completed my master's and went on to do my PhD under his direct supervision. My relationship with Graham was beyond academic, and as we stayed in touch, even when I was no longer in virology. So what does it mean to know Graham or Dr. Jacobs? To know Graham is to know how to set goals. Graham really encourages students to set goals and to work hard to achieve those goals in spite of the challenges and the constraints that we're faced with. He also encouraged us to keep on trying. Every time we have a failed experiment, he always asks you, what do you think went wrong? And go back, reflect, and try again. He encouraged us to always be better than the best. So we always set greater goals, and he always encouraged that we should just keep going. And also, to know Graham is he is a person that enjoys spending time with his families, and he encourages all the students to also do so. So every time he always checks up on, beyond our academic commitments to one another, he always checks up on our families and how we are faring. So we celebrate a life that demanded nothing but the best from all the students. One of Graham's famous quotes whenever the journey got tough is, "Don't worry, we keep fighting." And I stand here to tell you that Graham indeed fought a good fight and left a good academic legacy, which will live on through his collaborators and postgrad students all around the world. But who is Graham? Graham was born on the 14th of April, 1982 in Kraaifontein. He's the youngest child of Lawton and Mildred Millie Jacobs. Graham was born without a heartbeat, but he went on to carve out a glittering academic career for himself. Graham obtained his matric in 1999 from D.F. Milan High School in Belleville and he went on to study molecular and cellular biology, and he obtained his bachelor's, honors degree, and master's degree in the Division of Medical Virology at Stellenbosch University. After completing his master's degree, Dr. Jacobs left the comfort of his home country to pursue a PhD at the University of Würzburg in Germany, and in 2011, he graduated with a distinction, magna cum laude, from Würzburg. He was immensely proud of this achievement. Afterwards, he returned to Cape Town to again join the Division of Medical Virology as a postgrad fellow, and he was mentored by Professor Suzanne Angerbrock. Graham got married in December 2017, in which I was also in attendance, to Estronita Swat. Graham is survived by his widow, his older sister, Chantel Cowles, and brother-in-law, Hayden, and nephew, Troy, and his parents. So to Graham's parents, to his family, and on behalf of his postgrad students, Prof. Preza, the head of Division of Medical Virology, and the staff of Medical Virology, we thank you for sharing your son, Graham Brenda Jacobs, with us. So I just want to conclude on this important note. Graham's life was a legacy that breathes life, and it breathes life, resolve, integrity, and academic excellence into all postgrad students that he supervised, and he made a difference in our lives. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ubasa. Professor Taryn Young, Executive Head of Global Health and Head of Division of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, will deliver a tribute to Professor Berhanu Ayele.
Good afternoon. Prof. Berhanu Ayele joined our team in 2018. He coordinated the MSc in Biostatistics, collaborated on various research projects, and he provided biostatistics consultation, mentorship, and support to many. He was an icon of statistical methodology. He was very knowledgeable and advanced in his approaches in solving biostatistical problems. He impacted the lives of many students, colleagues, and friends through his inspiration and commitment for advancing biostatistics in Africa. His passion for biostatistics was evident in how he shared his knowledge with colleagues and students. And he didn't just do that for students and staff within the Division of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, but with other departments within the faculty, within South Africa, with other institutions, and within the African region. We shall remember him for his kind words, his warm smile, and his giggle, and his helpful hand. We shall remember his love only for Ethiopian coffee and his commitment to his country. We shall remember his generous nature, and we shall remember his brilliant mind. And we shall remember his love for his family. His loss is sorely felt.
Thank you, Professor Young. Professor Andrew Whitelaw, the Executive Head of Department of Pathology, will deliver a tribute to Professor Johan Demper.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm here in my personal capacity and also on behalf of the Department of Pathology to pay tribute to Johan Dempers. Johan's career in the faculty spanned more than a decade, and for the last 4 years or so he had been head of Division of Forensic Pathology. And I think in that time he became well known, certainly by most of the people in this audience, if not all of you, and by many people in the faculty, and I think was liked by everyone who met him and knew him. My first experience of Johan was soon after I'd started here in 2012 at a pathology research day, and Johan was there as well. And my impression then was of someone with a ready smile, who was always willing to talk to you, to offer help, to give advice, and who had a calm head on his shoulders. And that impression never changed over the last 8 or 9 years that I knew him. And I don't think I knew him as well as I would have liked and as well as I should have. After his tragic demise in January this year, I was struck by the tributes on the board placed at the outside at the entrance of the faculty. The number of students who'd posted messages of support and shock and grief. And by all accounts, certainly he is sorely missed as a teacher, both for undergraduates and postgraduate students. And his passion both for his subject and I think his passion for his life and his attitude for life came across in his teaching and would have left a lasting impression on all of those who were taught by him, all of those who were supervised by him, and certainly all of his colleagues, all of his friends. His loss leaves a gap that is sorely felt by all of us, first and foremost by his family, his wife and 2 children, but by all of his colleagues and friends, and we remember him fondly and we won't soon forget him. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Whitelaw. Mr. Anna Brandt will deliver a tribute to Ms. Evelyn Phillies.
Hi again. So this time I'd like to just do a tribute to Evelyn Phillies. Evelyn Phillies was appointed at the Desmond Tutu TB Centre as a professional nurse in 2015. Over the last 6 years, she worked on different studies, and for the last year and a half, she was placed at our Kells River research site. Evelyn sadly passed away a few weeks ago on the 6th of May. She was a true embodiment of this university's values of compassion and respect in person, but also at work. She was an example to everyone. Her colleagues and even the research participants miss her friendly, compassionate, helpful nature. Evelyn had a beautiful smile that I will never forget. She was a positive person, and even when she was very sick, she still had hope. Evelyn, we will never forget you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella. Mr. Tini Peterson will deliver a tribute to Mr. Calvin Lebusa.
Good afternoon, goedemiddag. Het is een voorrecht voor mij om die hele blijk van Calvin te doen vandaag. Het is ook een voorrecht om zijn vrouw en haar maai bij ons te hebben. Calvin was werkzaam in die audiovisuele afdeling en hij was wel bekend voor zijn klank en zijn video's wat hij gemaakt heeft. 42 jaar dienstjaren bij de universiteit. Calvin het my eendag genooi om hom te gaan help om net video's te doen in 'n theater. Ek het net verbaas gestaan om te sien die gehalte van sy werk wat hy doen en die passie wat hy gehad het. Calvin het 'n hart gehad vir sy werk. Jy kon Calvin enige oomblik vra. Hy het tyd gemaak vir jou. Dis net die tipe mens wat hy was. Baie ure na werkstyd het hy nog met fakulteits en funksies te doen gehad en spesifiek as ons dink aan die eetafleggings na ure. Dit was nooit vir hom 'n probleem nie. Hy het dit met sy passie gedoen. Calvin se gesindheid teenoor mense het ook vir my baie uitgestaan. Hy het almal dieselfde behandel, of jy nou 'n professor was, en of jy 'n sekretaresse was, en of jy 'n skoonmaker was. Daar was geen verskil in sy hart om mense te help nie. Ek weet Kelvin het by tye ook baie, omdat hy audiovisueel inklank gedoen het, het hy baie mense gehelp om hulle goed reg te maak. Ek het baie keer by Kelvin gesit, eet en sê dan werk Kelvin om mense se goed reg te maak, net sodat hy 'n glimlag op hulle gesig kan sit. Ek het geweet, as Kelvin 'n glimlag op jou gesig kon sit, deur vir jou te help, dan het hy uit sy pad gegaan. Jou glimlag, jou blydskap was vir hom belangrik. Sy behulpsaamheid het geen perke geken nie. Ek wil ook baie dankie sê aan Lorraine en die kinders, dat julle vir Kelvin toegelaat het, om sy werk tuis ook te kon doen. Kelvin het etlike ure, as hy na werk huis toe gaan, dan gaan sit hy op sy rekenaar, om die fakulteit te dien. Ek weet spesifiek na sy aftrede, het Kelvin nog steeds gewerk vir arbeidsterapie, en ek het nou net vroeër met Lorraine daaroor gepraat, sy sê hy het letterlik, omdat hy klaargemaak het van sy werk verlore gegaan het hy ure gesit, dan staan hy op in die middel van die nag, dan gaan hy aan, en dan gaan slaap hy weer so 'n paar ure, dan gaan hy aan, en hy het 'n sekere tydperk gehad, wat hy die werk wou klaar gehad het, en arbeidsterapeut kan getuig daarvan, hy het die werk klaar gekry. Daar is nog goed wat hy nie kon kry nie, maar dat is nou daarmee heen, maar dit was Kelvin. Hy het 'n verskriklike passie vir mense gehad. Jy kon nie verby daar kom, hy kon nie 'n vlieg doodmaak nie. En Kelvin was ook, vir ons mense wat nie weet nie, sy buitemuurse aktiwiteite, hy was 'n uitstekende squashspeler, so groot soos wat Kelvin daar was, in sy diepe ouderdom. Kelvin het ook karaoke's. Kelvin die kerke gehelp, het vir my spesifiek baie gehelp. Maar ook ander kerke, as daar funksies was, en Kelvin kon nie 'n karaoke doen, of ek het vir hom partymal gaan help. Kelvin het die mense nie 'n sent gevra nie. As hy sien daar is 'n winsie of iemand wil ergens heen gaan en hy wil fondse, Kelvin was daar. Kelvin het nooit nee. Ek dink Kelvin het geweet wat dit is om nee te sê nie. Lorraine. So ek dink sy familie het minder van sy tyd gehad as wat die ander mense gehad het. Sy het meer tyd gehad vir die ander mense. Ja, hy het tyd gehad vir die familie ook. Maar om mense te help was net sy passie. Jy kon dit net nie van hom af wegkry nie. Ek wil net ook lees wat nog 'n baie goeie kollega, David Jackson. I knew him for almost 34 years. Wow, that's a long time to know someone. Reflecting back at our friendship, and obviously the colleague he was, does not make it difficult to share with you some wonderful thoughts of our dear brother. I would want to only say 3 friendship or colleague traits that I can remember of Kelvin, and believe me, there are much more than these 3. Number 1, loyalty jumps up very quickly in my mind. Dear colleagues, you get friends and you get friends. You would understand the statement. But let me break up his statement by saying Kelvin was a loyal friend, not because of what he could get out, but rather what he could give from himself. Respectful. This was obviously one of the traits that stood out of Kelvin's life. Respectful of you, respectful of your time. He was even showing respect towards you while you were making mistakes. I believe strongly that he was worthy to be part or coming into anyone's life. And it was so easy. He was just that kind of person. Even if he helped you, once you leave that room, you just want to get back to Kelvin and just sit to Kelvin, because it's such a lot of stories that they had to tell. Making time for you was something I truly loved about Kelvin. As busy as he was, on many occasions, he could make time for you. We know that his work was of the nature of shooting videos or doing some recordings, and it was sometimes difficult to stop what he was doing, especially when it comes to recordings. So you would get into his office and he will be busy with the recording and he will see you through the window. And mark my words, Calvin will get back to you after that. He will phone you and ask you what the need was. That's just how Calvin was. So today, I would conclude by saying we are already missing an awesome friend. They say that no one is irreplaceable, but I think looking at our brother, at our friend, at our colleague, it's definitely going to be difficult to replace this great guy. May his soul rest in peace. Strong to you, the family, this afternoon, and also his friends and colleagues. I thank you.
Hi, dankie meneer Petersen. Sister Irene Banga from Psychiatry to deliver a tribute to Mr. Malisu Nkono. Sister Banga not here? Okay, doesn't look like it. Japie Engelbrug, the Director of Planning and Development from Facilities Management, to deliver a tribute to Mr. Dirk Theart.
Thank you, Prof. Jimmy. Thank you, Prof. Nico. Important that we start by saying that Dirk wasn't a full-time staff member of the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. He worked for facilities management, and therefore this is a very special occasion, and we really appreciate the gesture from the faculty to give tribute to Dirk for his contributions to the faculty as well. Finding words or phrases that truly reflect on a person's life is incredibly hard and can be difficult. How do you sum up someone who meant so much to the university and to our department and to me personally in mere a handful of words? So let's reflect on Dirk's career a bit and some of our personal experiences we had with him. He started his career with the old South African Railway and Harbour Company and qualified himself as an engineer. He started with the university in 2000 at facilities management, and he worked for facilities management for 20 years. Just a number of projects that you as staff members will also remember that Dirk worked on as a program manager for facilities management, and he's got a tremendous long list of projects that he worked on in the 20 years. I just looked at 3. The upgrading of the conserve at Stellenbosch campus is one of the projects that he managed. Then the backlog maintenance project at Tygerberg campus that you as staff members here will all remember. Difficult project, we interrupted you badly with that. That started in 2011 and was completed in 2016. And Dirk was the project manager for that entire period. Then the BMRI project that is currently still in construction. Dirk had the privilege of working on that in the first 3 years, sort of last part of the planning, and then the construction of the new section. The project was extremely close to his heart, and he was very sad that he couldn't complete the project. As a project manager, it's always sad to walk away from a project if it's not completed, and that was Dirk's view on that as well. Then Dirk, the person, a big family man, he dearly loved his wife and his children. One of his daughters also passed away a couple of years ago, and I'm sure that himself and his daughter will have a ball of a time in heaven. He was a big people's person. He would always chat. He will always greet you deeply. You knew when Dirk greet you because he's really interested in how it's going with you and how you're feeling at that moment. A very loud person. You would hear him a number of meters away. In the passage, you will hear him as he entered the building. You would hear it's Dirk is coming. He liked to pick a fight with colleagues, but afterwards he could laugh and make up and move on. He lived to go on pension, and he was the one person that I knew that planned his pension to the T, and then only enjoyed 2.5 months of his pension that he worked so hard to achieve. And how sad is that? He always made a joke before he started the conversation. What will we always remember of Dirk? He had some standard sayings that will stay for us forever. His standard saying phrases in meetings, and I just took 2 out of it, is what you decide now will have a knock-on effect. He always reminded us of that. And then the main one is he always asked us, when you start talking figures, and in our lives figures is important, so he would always ask us, what is the bottom line? And it was so part of him that we asked an artist to do a painting of those words that we handed to him as part of his retirement gift. And then, just in closure, Dirk, we will never forgive you or forgotten, and will live, and you will live on in your hearts, and also at project meetings. That sayings will be with us forever. Thank you for the opportunity.
Baie dankie meneer Engelbrug. Dr. Karin Marks of the Division of Clinical Pharmacology to deliver a tribute to Ms. Millicent Motileng.
Good afternoon. Millicent Motileng was one of my students. She was registered for a postgraduate diploma in medical toxicology. The following is a letter from a fellow colleague and fellow student, Dr. Andre Lars. Millicent Motileng, or Millie, graduated from the University of Pretoria with a BSc in botany, a BSc honours in plant science, and a master's degree in entomology. She spent 2 years as an intern with the South African Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries before joining Bayer as a product development and regulatory affairs trainee. Millicent brought a lot of energy to this department and proved to be a dedicated and highly competent member of the regulatory team. Her career progressed well, and she took on the position of registration officer at Villa Crop Protection and later took on a technical role at Syngenta. Millicent then joined Avima as regulatory affairs officer. Less than 2 years later, she became the head of regulatory affairs, which she held until her unfortunate death early this year. Millie was always keen to learn and improve herself, and we just started with a postgraduate diploma in medical toxicology, the first of its kind in Africa. Millie leaves a massive gap in our work and personal lives. She was an absolute gem of a person, always friendly, ready to go above and beyond her duties. Having had the privilege to work with her in 2 companies, I can attest that our industry has lost a superstar. More than that, we have lost a stunning friend. Thank you.
Thank you, you, Dr. Marks. Professor Mark Tomlinson, the Director of the Institute for Life Course Health Research, will deliver a tribute to Ms. Norma Simangala.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is an honor to be here to pay tribute to Sis Norma, and I also want to just say thank you to Zanele and Norma Basu for also being here. Sis Norma was based at our research site in Khayelitsha for 10 years. And I asked a lot of people what words would they describe her with in just a word or two. And two things kept coming up, and they were her smile and dancing. And I always used to remember when I used to drive into the site in Khayelitsha, and for some reason, very often when I arrived, I kind of don't know if she was waiting for me at the end of the car park, but she would see me, and this incredible smile would happen that made you feel like you were the center of the universe. I quickly realized that it was less about me than everybody, because that's how she saw everybody. And then she would do this little dance as she walked down the car park. And you could always guarantee at every meeting that she would dance, that she would smile. And if we needed a problem solved, she would be the one in the community, because she seemed to know everybody, and everybody loved her, that she was our go-to person. And it was particularly for me a manifestation of the terrible cruelty of this virus for Norma, is that she had a number of comorbidities, and last year in lockdown she was very worried about coming back to work because she was our driver. She did admin for us. She was that community link, and she was terribly worried. And so we spent a lot of time protecting her, and eventually she said, this is too much, and we organized for her to go on an early retirement. And then in December in the Eastern Cape, she fell ill with COVID and died. And and I know there are many tragic stories, but it was just the particular cruelty of that for her. And she was this absolute vibrant soul. And I can remember when we were first doing our website, we needed a picture. We work a lot with children, with infants, with families, and we needed photographs of children. But we're very mindful of not putting up photographs on a website without consent. We just mentioned that to Norma, and off she went, arrived the next day with her children, dressed them up, set up situations where it looked like we were doing an assessment. And so if you look at our website, you'll see a lot of pictures of Norma and her children as if they were research participants, but they weren't. They were her beloved children who lost their mother. So just to pay tribute to this magical, warm, funny, kind woman who could light up a room and genuinely make you feel in those moments of interaction first with her that you were the most important person in the world. And we will miss her enormously. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you to everyone, family, friends and colleagues who made the tributes this afternoon. Wonderful tributes. Thank you to family who came from far to join us this afternoon. We appreciate it. We are now coming to the end of the ceremony. Please note that there will be 2 stations available with stones. You can see the stones in the front there. For family and friends to write any tributes or memorial messages that you would like to for those who have been remembered today. These stones will be placed in the garden next to the trees that will be planted in remembrance of all our colleagues who passed away. And these trees will all have the person's name on it. So you're welcome to leave your tributes also in this way. Thank you once again for joining us, also for the colleagues, family and friends who joined us online. We appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much.